This is the Horse Radio Network.
Hey, you're listening to Adulting with Horses, the best place to be if you can't be at the barn. We are your co-hosts and equine authors, Heather Wallace and Natalie Keller-Reinert. As crazy horse girls, we don't take ourselves too seriously in the saddle or out. We celebrate the things that make us different. Join us as we talk about horses and pop culture and get a little weird in a fun way. Thank you for being a little weird with us. So I'm really excited, Natalie. Today we have a special guest host. He is probably America's most famous horse husband, I would imagine. Certainly he likes to think so.
In my own mind, I am.
No, he's one of my favorite people. I'm so excited to have him on, and I hope he gets a little silly with us. Glenn Hebert, welcome to Adulting with Horses.
Hey, Heather. Hey, Natalie. This is weird. I'm on your show where you're on mine. So, yeah.
Yep, how the tables
That's
have
true.
turned.
I'm a little nervous, actually.
Payback's a bitch.
Well, if we were going to have a man on the show, I think you're just about the only one that I would
Oh, well, I'm flattered now.
Since you are America's horse
I'm
husband.
flattered.
We all appreciate that.
Yeah, that is. Coming from Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heather will allow anybody on, but Natalie,
I'm the gatekeeper.
That's right.
I like to make Glenn work. So we're going to put him through his paces today.
Now let's clarify this, all right? Normally, the only thing the three of us do together is eat dinner and drink at the conferences. So we don't normally work together. We usually play and drink together. That's what we're normally doing.
But that's what we have this podcast for, so it's perfect.
Wait, look.
Because that's all we do. Oh, Natalie's got her cocktails ready to go.
It's the middle of the afternoon,
I didn't
friends.
get anything. I missed the memo. Ugh.
You know, next time we'll have to send out like a special memo about this. I don't know. I don't have a drink either. I'm trying to be a good parent because, you know.
Well, next conference, we will
so.
record an episode of this after dinner and drinking. And
Oh.
Natalie's like,
well,
no.
Oh.
I
my
remember
goodness.
Fort Worth
Yes.
was a lot of
Yes.
fun. Mandy was off her rocker, and we just could not stop laughing.
She's normally off her rocker, though.
We still won that taxi cab ride.
Yeah, that's right.
I know, I love her.
I have
But
to
it's
stop being
exciting.
the official
It's so
introvert and staying home and missing all of these things.
Yeah, well, this is what happens. Like, Natalie and I will go to an event, and we'll have so much fun, and I'll tire her out so much that she goes home and sleeps. Well, I'm like, who wants to go out with me? And then I crash because I regret going out because I'm so tired.
I made the mistake that time, Natalie. We all went out to dinner, like 10 of us, and I offered to pay for some dumb reason, and it was like $650.
Oh my God.
My wife just about killed me. So then I had to remind her of all the...
I bet. She's like, you're taking all these other
Yes,
women out to
yes.
dinner.
But then I had to remind her how many horseshoes she's bought at $400 every 6 weeks. So, yeah.
Oh, so it
So
begins.
you're getting to the crux of our
Yes,
topic
see,
here,
that was
which
a
I
perfect
love.
transition
You're
there.
swinging that back around.
What a
It is, and it's
professional.
like you've done this for a living, Glenn. It's just chef's kiss. Yeah, so we're here to talk about horse husbands because you know what it's like to be one. I know what it's like to be married to one, as does Natalie. And frankly, we want to pick your brain a little bit and also stay married, but still not give up horses.
We can't do this interview then.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm interested in Glenn's sort of origin story. Did he begin as a horse husband? Was he converted to the extreme level of horse husband that we know and love today? I have one outside. I'm spreading manure on my garden right now, whom I converted. And not to Glenn's level. He doesn't ride or drive, although he has been known to run a horse at Belmont. So he's pretty capable with horses, and he's better at wrapping than me, which I hate. But he's definitely, that's as far as the whole thing went. He's not an actual hands-on participant. Whereas Glenn,
I mean, I'm lucky if my husband shows up once a year to the barn.
right, so I feel like we've got a 0% for you. I've got a 50% convert, and then you. I'm just curious if Glenn, if you're a convert or
Oh, it's
if you
definitely a
came
convert.
this
No, I
way.
married into this for
Okay.
sure. And, I was a suit and tie guy. I was in finances. I did financial planning for farmers, ironically, but mostly dairy farmers.
Oh, that must have been depressing.
It was hard work because it was Lancaster County. It was real conservative Pennsylvania, and so yeah, I was definitely converted. The only thing I knew about a horse is passing him on the road because I lived in Lancaster County. We had a lot of buggies, but that's the only thing I knew. And so I definitely married this, and it took me a couple of years to figure out. I think it takes everybody a couple of years to kind of figure out what your place is. Because you think there should be a place for you, and then you figure out very quickly that you don't fit the hole. Uh, you're very square, and the hole's very round, and you just don't fit in that hole. And you have to figure out how to morph a bit to fit into the hole, into that world. And I've talked to a lot of horse husbands over the years too, and we all go through the same process. We all go through that learning curve, and you end up one of those three ways. It's ironic you had those three categories, Natalie, because that's one of the three categories you end up. You're going to end up somewhere in there, or divorced. That's the fourth category. And, we're including boyfriends in this too. And I would call it divorce if they don't make it to marriage, because 99% of the time, if they're with a horse girl, it's because of the horses. And I'm convinced of that after all of them I've
We are
talked to.
very intense.
Yeah, you're very intense, and there's a lot of problems with horse girls. One is they think about the horses first, so we get no attention. Especially, you got to consider, we're coming from dating from other people who don't have the hobby, maybe no hobbies, so they're focused entirely on you as the boy, right? And then we go into this where give a crap. I can say it here. They can give a shit whether you show up or not that night because they're playing with the horses. And as a matter of fact, they would prefer you didn't. So you're going from the one extreme to completely other extreme, usually in a short period of time. And that takes some learning. And then, of course, we go in thinking we know everything. I made this mistake for years, thinking we know everything. We had a 100-acre farm and knew how to do everything, quote unquote. And and then that caused a lot of friction because I was doing it wrong. And I really was doing it wrong. But, you'd never admit that. Because you want to be the boyfriend. You want to be that guy who fixes everything and does everything. But what we don't know is with horses, it's all different. So it takes a while to go through that. I think it's almost a 3 to 5 year process where you truly start to figure out where your place is. And it's going to be one of those 4 places. And usually if the divorce happens, I think with a horse girl, it's happening in the first 5 years.
Well, I wasn't involved with horses when my husband and I got
Oh,
together.
you were just deceitful then. You were just deceitful.
My husband calls it the bait and
It
switch.
is.
I have a very strong
yeah.
opinion about that, Heather. I wanna,
Yeah.
I wanna
Well,
talk about that.
I'd taken some time off. I was living in New York City. I was living my life. I was working in publishing. I was doing all these things. And then after I had our first child, I was in very much a depressed, terrible state. And I was like, I really think I'm going to get back into horses. I need something for myself. And he was the one who encouraged me. And now I tell you right now, he probably regrets every second of that conversation.
He was desperate at that point.
Since that, oh, you know what? He really was. And I don't think he realized how 0 to 150,000 I would go. But that's kind of a horse girl for you, right? You're either all in or you're not in at all. And, so it took me about 10 years to convince him that we needed a horse. And then it just has gone downhill for that.
So I have a question. If you had horses and were really into it when you met, would he have hung around?
Oh, I think he would have thought I was much sexier, actually, because I probably would have been a lot fitter back then.
You know what?
I think part of the reason my husband
we are
and I
pretty
work
shallow. That
is
would have worked.
because I'm very
I'm getting so many great perspectives right now. This is amazing. So glad
well,
you're here.
I'm a very independent person, and so is he. So I think he would have thought that was something really sexy until he saw how much time it took, right? Because even the other day, he told me, he's like, why are you so obsessed with this horse? And I said, because he tells me he loves me every day. He makes me feel pretty. And he wants my attention. Like, he does all the things I wish you would do as my husband. Except I'm like, why didn't you make dinner? Or, yelling at me because, like, oh, the kids made a mess or whatnot. Like, I get my love and affection from the horses.
Okay, Natalie, your turn.
That's not helping my situation at all.
I just wrote divorce down here, actually.
Yeah, but Glenn, here's the thing. I think I am magic because my husband is now forming a retirement. Like, we're building a farm in Vermont, and he is helping me build it.
Yeah, but he's leaving to go there long before you retire. So
That's probably true.
Well, if that's, sometimes that's the 50%, 25% maybe instead of 0 inversion. Because when, like, for example, Glenn was with somebody that was 100% in, and his mindset was, I could be the guy who does this stuff, right? And I was telling you, Heather, my husband says, I want to be the guy. Whenever I say I want a guy to do stuff, right? I'm like, I want an air conditioning guy, and I want a plumbing guy, and I want a fence guy, because I don't want to do any of that stuff. I just want to have a guy. He says, no, I want to be that guy. Not like your guy, Natalie. Just, self-sufficient dude. And
thank God for YouTube.
So that, yeah, big time. Although a lot of people on YouTube seem to be mainly focused on building their own tools, which is very disturbing. Where they're like, well, I put the drill and I attached it to the baseball bat, and then you put the feathers here, and it's very scary. I'm like, don't do that. But
what are you watching?
That's what I was just wondering.
No, I swear to God. And this was just to put augers into the ground to for a shelter for the horses. And he built a tool to do this.
I thought this was Heather's territory, actually.
Put a crowbar through
What do you
it, or
Google to find that shit? Because I want in.
Let's trade, because I don't want to be anywhere near any of the DIY stuff. But it's
sorry.
when I met my husband, I was 100% into horses. But I knew I wanted to do other things too, and our other things meshed better than the horse thing did. And there have been a lot of hard work and a lot of mistakes made along the way to the place we are now, where we have done many of those other things and we have settled down with the horses. So,
but don't you think that's true of any marriage, even without horses, that you have your things that are together, and they kind of, over time, it settles into something else a lot of times? It may be something else you like doing together, but it changes over time.
Well, I don't know. I don't know a lot of married people, to be honest with you. And so,
they never made it through the first 5 years.
Yeah, basically, I know a lot of divorced people, and I know a lot of people who are in, like, relationships that I would not want for myself. So I basically consider myself 100% to have the
do not recommend
relationship of all time. Yeah, big time would not.
Well,
recommend.
your husband cooks for you, and he cleans, and
Yes.
you've trained him well, Natalie.
Well, he's the house husband, which is what he wanted.
Yeah.
So it worked out, because I wanted to write, and I was tired of trying to write and work a full-time job and take care of the kid and all of these things. Like, the last time I was working full-time and cooking and cleaning, etc., we lived in New York City, and we were mostly just doing takeout at that point. And it was like, well,
that's
this is
the
a
place
wash.
to do
We're not
takeout,
making
though.
any
I
money
mean,
off
if
of
you're
this.
going to do takeout, that's a good place for it.
Yes, this is true. I was, on a really good first name
but
basis
it's
with everybody at the shawarma place, right? But, it ended up working out so that I will work late into the evening on my stuff, and then he's doing everything else. He's the kind of guy that'll come over, put a drink in front of me at 6 o'clock and be like, maybe wind down. But then he wanted to
Heather's
do more
just
stuff
dreaming
outside,
right
so
now.
the farm works
The look
out
on
better.
Heather's face is precious.
I honestly, I've told Heather this so far. I would settle for literally.
I feel like crying right now.
I feel so bad for you right now.
I would settle for nothing less at this point. I would, if anything, were to happen, I would just be like, that's it. I live alone now, period. I will never tolerate any other human in my space.
Well, I am of that too. Like I think in my relationship with my husband, I'm definitely, I think Glenn can agree, the man. Like and he's masculine and he's wonderful, whatever. But like, I'm very independent, very bossy. I know what I want. I don't hesitate to get it, and I'm not afraid to ask for it. Now, that being said, my husband is the same way. And so there can be a lot of passion, but also a lot of conflict. And so for us to be on the same team, we have to find the same team. Like, he'll never be the guy who wants to spend all day at the barn, but he does want to be the guy who hacks out the riding trails and maybe has a good gallop every once in a while. Right. So
that's pretty good.
It's kind of finding the stuff he likes and then incorporating that. Like, he's a big mountain biker. He's a big snowboarder. He's pretty handy and he needs that outlet. So I'm like trying to focus him on the things he likes so I could spend time with him doing what I like too together.
Well, Jamie and I have always said that,
Does that make sense?
it works better if the guy or the spouse, it can be a woman too, if it goes the other way. It works better if they have a hobby that they really want to, that they can spend time doing their hobby away from the house and the barn. Otherwise, they sit there while you're spending half your day at the barn pissed off, right? So because they don't have something like that. So it does work better if they play golf or whatever that is, that hobby is. You know, one of my hosts is astronomy. He actually has a complete telescope thing with the dome and everything. So, you know, it can be anything, but if they have a hobby, I think it works out better.
Yeah, I think you're
do too.
absolutely right. Right. And hobbies, there's lots of studies about how hobbies for adults can be harder to come by or even not necessarily encouraged. Like, we're in a sport that a lot of us start when we're little kids, whereas most other childhood sports get abandoned because there's just not really support for them in the community. Like, my husband is an excellent athlete. I have no idea where he would find an adult team to do anything fun around here.
Yeah, the only adult teams you see is
everything is
baseball,
18 and
maybe
under.
baseball. That's the one I could think of.
Fantasy football.
That's the thing, right? The hobby becomes watching professionals do what you wanted to do while drinking and feeling sorry for yourself.
That pretty much describes it, Natalie.
Am I wrong?
That could have been me.
Am I wrong about the last part? That's what I do when I watch badminton. I'm sorry. I apologize.
But you know, it's
Your
fun.
geek is coming out. I
You
love
say
it.
that tennis was my sport, which was a good.
I meant badminton. Yeah.
Yeah. So tennis was my sport, which was a good one because after I played it really actively until I was almost 40. And that was one of those sports you could do. But anything team sport is tougher.
Yeah.
Those team sports are tough. Yeah, you're right.
Well, and it's yeah, Natalie and I have even talked about like making friends as an adult can be difficult. So for our husbands as well, it's the same thing.
Moment. We were recording a podcast about being nice to our husbands.
But wait, I thought we didn't have to be nice to them. We just wanted them to be horsey, right?
Well,
I'm
I
confused.
think it's a catch more flies with honey situation here.
Do you know how I met the Connie and Allison at Redingote Equestrian?
No, you have to tell me.
Oh my God. So okay, it must have been like 2017 or 2018. I have to double check, but I was working at Jersey Fresh, which is like a big international cross country 3-day eventing thing here in New Jersey. And they had a booth. So I walked by and I'd seen them on Instagram and I literally just put on my big girl pants and I walked up to them and I said, "Hey, I saw your Instagram. That's so cool. You're here. I've messaged with you and tell me about your product." And they didn't even have any product yet. They just had a couple of like pre-sale items. I bought one of the first ever jumpsuits and I've made them be friends with me ever since.
That sounds like something you would do.
Right?
It's an internet love story, but it's one that you, Heather, you're able to just say, you know what, we're friends now. And I appreciate that about you.
Yeah. And I love their products. Like their product is how I met them, But really, Connie and Ellison are just super cool human beings who decided they wanted to create a line of brand apparel for women that was pretty and not, let's see, masculine, right? Like, for lack of a better word. And honestly, every year they come out with a better and better product. So every year they release something new, and every year I have to buy it because it's really that good.
What an incredible skill set and talent to have, because if there's one thing that's not cute, it's getting dressed for the barn in the winter. I'm usually trying to see how many layers of Goodwill sweaters I can get on and still move.
I feel like that's a challenge we need to play with a little bit to look like a bulky. Well, that's the thing. I could go from my office wearing actually cute clothes. I could just throw on my coveralls and then go to the barn. And it doesn't matter what I have underneath me. I'm warm and I'm dry, and I'm not bringing home dirt and hay because I just take my coveralls off before I get in the house.
What a huge asset, even in the winter, especially because it gets dark so early. It's not like you have time to go home and change into your barn clothes. And I don't know if you've ever changed barn clothes in your office bathroom, but you shouldn't. You should not do that, Heather.
That's a good PSA for everybody.
People will laugh at you, and you will have to explain so much to them. And then every time you leave 10 minutes early because you're sneaking out to the barn, they know that's what you're doing. You can't say, oh, I'm going to pick up my kid or whatever. No, they know you're going to the barn to play with your horse because you put on your filthy clothes in front of them.
So now if you have a Redingote Equestrian, right, a coverall, you sneak out, you put that in, right at your car, and you're good to go. Nobody knows the difference.
Yes, exactly.
It's diabolical. I love it.
It's important. It's about balance, work-life balance.
That's cute. I thought it would be really fun for us to maybe go around one by one and say one thing that we recommend not doing to your horse spouse, partner, or husband, wife, in order to keep things good and happy. So like a what not to do. I'll start. And I will be honest that I'm guilty of this. Okay. Talking about horses constantly. Even though I've tried not to do that, apparently I still do.
What else is there to talk
And it drives me crazy.
There you go.
I mean, he's checks out. My daughters all ride. I ride. My husband checks out when he hears us talk about horses. How about you guys? Does anybody have a what not to do?
Well, I would say don't ever downplay, even if you're in a horse break when you meet the guy. I think you should make it very clear. You should sort of out yourself and be like, look, at one point in my life, I rode horses. And the statistics indicate that at some point in my life, possibly when we're in a very precarious financial situation and we can't afford anything to go wrong at all, I will get involved with horses again. That's just the data backs me up here. So you need to be aware from the get-go that while I appear normal, I am in fact just a horse girl in disguise. I think you have to.
So you're just gonna hand your red flag out on a platter.
Yeah, it's coming.
Wrap
it's
it in
not
a ribbon.
Going away. I am living proof. I keep quitting and coming back. And I just think it's really important to be upfront and honest. Even and you looked perfectly normal, Heather, when he met you. And there it was. The horse gene was in there.
Did I act normal? Is the question.
No, I was just going to say something, but I chose not to.
Switch.
Completely unrelated.
But Glenn, this is where you should say something. You have my permission. This is
So I have two. One from the guy's side is never say it's me or the horses, because it'll be the horses and there's that divorce again. But guys say it all the time and they lose that battle. And then resented for it for the entire length of the rest of the relationship, which won't be long anyway. But then for me, this especially years ago when we were dating in early marriage, is the constantly being late to everything because of the horses. That's one thing that drives us crazy. is just the constantly being late because of the horses. Now, I learned since then,
The barn time black hole.
well, and I've learned since then that if you're I'm the husband, so I have to talk about wives. If you're the woman who is late because of the horses, you're probably late anyway because of something else. You're just the late person.
Well, I'm always
Well, that's
late.
it. You're the late person, and you're just either a late person or you're not a late person. I learned that later. We blame the horses early on because it can't be the spouse's fault because she is still sexy and all of that stuff, as Heather said. But you do learn that later is that they're just late people and they're on time people. And why does a late person always end up with the on time person every single relationship? Why does that always work that way? So the being late, you just learn over time that people are either late people or they're not late people. But why does one always marry the other? It's always one late person and one not late person, then they're married. It just always works that way.
Well,
It's a balance thing because I'm the early one and my husband's the late one.
Really?
I can't decide.
Yep.
My husband's probably an on-time person. My problem, if I may defend myself, is that
took this
I
personally.
always leave. I'm the late person, but I always leave out prep time. Like even in New York, I would be like, I have to be somewhere at 2:00, and it will take me 10 minutes on the train to get there, and it will take me 5 minutes to wait for the train. So I will leave my house 15 minutes early. I left out the walk to the train completely, or even just like the effort of locking my door and going down 4 flights of stairs, just gone. And I'm still like that. Like I'm always 1 minute late to podcast recording because I leave out the part where I have to like turn on my computer and open up stupid Chrome that doesn't work on my computer. Just every time. It doesn't matter. I always
And
leave
I'm
out
always
prep.
10 minutes early.
Yeah, she was here when I got here today.
And that's why, Natalie, you and I work. Yeah. Well, and that's what it is. Like I'm a planner. I'm an overthinker. I just appear frazzled, but really I would be so much worse if I didn't plan. I am very clear when I have barn time. When I go to the barn, he says, "How long do you need?" And so I'm very good about never pushing past his expectations so that he can go out and do what he wants to do. Right? That's kind of our nice mid-range, right? So we both get to do our fun things.
And then after you've been married a
Just
long
time
time to a horse girl, you just add an hour or two to that every time, whatever they say, just add an hour or two. And then they're not late until that hour or two extra is done. That helps us mentally doing that.
It's almost like we should
Yeah,
be
I
making
think that's a good idea,
list or a
'cause-
guide. Like let's write these down for
Well,
folks. Like
that's
number 1, expect them to be an hour late. Number 2, it's never going to be you in a horses versus them.
We've had so many boyfriends on the show. We seek out boyfriends to talk and get them on the air to talk them out of marrying the girl. And it never works. They always end up doing it anyway. So apparently, no matter what we say, it doesn't
we're
matter.
awesome. Well, I'm so easy to buy a gift for. I'll tell you right now. Just go to the tax store, get me a gift card, and we're good.
It's true.
Right? Like I'm not high maintenance. I will literally go from the barn out to a bar wearing what I'm wearing with zero fucks to give, and I probably look a little rough, but like some guys like that, right? Like I get free drinks.
I think that's a
Free
perk.
drinks.
I think our low maintenance, like, okay, we're spending on those horses. But I think our low maintenance in appearance and in non-riding clothing, etc. I think those are all perks. Like I've never had my nails done in my entire life, but I just spilled a ton of Keratex on them. So they're going to be in great shape.
That's true. You always
so
know
done.
what bills you're getting, right? It's never for
Yeah.
the pedicure place. Well,
Yeah.
along those lines, my second what not to do is fill your garage with extra tack. Because now I have a lot of stuff that I need to sell or find somewhere to go because I have a shopping problem, and there's like, I have seasonal things, right? So like in the summer, I use my summer stuff and then I flip it. So all the extra stuff is sitting in my garage and my husband wants to murder me.
But what does he want
So
to
don't
put
be
there?
mean.
And maybe you need to 50-50 this garage because he probably just wants to put bike stuff there, right? Like, let's be real.
Oh, he's got his own section. He just wants it to not look like messy.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never had a garage, and I gave away almost all of my possessions a few years ago. So that one I'm not really.
You know, the one,
as
though,
good.
that really shocks us horse husbands when we first meet, and it still kind of shocks you to this day, is the car. Is what the car or the truck looks like. It looks like a hoarder house.
It's so bad.
It's awful. You don't even have a place to
It's just
sit.
sand.
It's probably dinged up. It's definitely full of dirt and hay. I clean out the inside of my car once a week, and it still looks like it's been used and abused.
And that's without kids. That's pre-kids even, it looks that way.
It's a car. It stays
It's-
outside. It's meant for being outdoors.
Yeah, but it looks like
I
a
don't get the
hoarder
big deal.
house.
Don't go in it.
But you might need something, and then you have it in your truck.
Yeah, you want it in
What
the
if
house.
you need that extra, like, calming paste? What if you need that extra sheet? What if you need it, Glenn?
How about the 3 weeks worth of
Imagine-
clothing that's just thrown in the back? How about that? How about all of the McDonald's
have
bags
saddle
that have
pads
never
right
been
now.
thrown away, that are buried under the 3 weeks worth of clothing?
Well, that's like being a mom. Like that's yeah. What I used to have a McDonald's toy under my seat, and I didn't know what it was. It just every now and then something would chuckle when you went over a bump. And it turned out it was a penguin.
thought it was the
from
car.
The Penguins of Madagascar. It went or something like that.
That's funny.
And then I liked it, so I left it there. But that was a mom thing. I only trashed my car with hay and sand, definitely sand. I mean, these are minor things, right? I don't wash my car. That would be insane. It's outdoors. Why would I wash it like that?
Just gonna get dirty the next day.
Correct. It's under a tree. It'll be fine.
I
So maybe
agree.
it's not
I
even
think-
just the
I think
car.
Glenn's
It's just a lack of
overreacting
respect
on that
for
one.
things. I think I just have a lack of respect for anything that isn't like directly used for horse keeping purposes. You know, like
Yeah, I will say my husband, I know better. I do not push him and get in his pristine vehicle from the barn. I will go shower, change, and get, otherwise we're taking my car. So, I know his limits, and that's a hard limit for him.
And it goes back to the other thing. It's always the opposite. One's messy. It doesn't even have to be horses. One's messy car, one's clean car. It just always works that way.
that's got to just be how the chemistry between two humans works. Is we're supposed to balance each other out because 2 messes equals a disaster.
Equals a
You
TV
know.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you can't be too similar either, or you'll drive each other insane and someone will end up, buried at the bottom of a hill. So I think it's better to balance each other out and learn a little bit from them. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things to be said about, and I don't think enough credit is given to our partners, because it is an all-encompassing hobby that we have, and it is a passion. And it does take up a lot of our lives. So you need a really strong partner to be able to stand with you or let you do your thing. And I think that's unrecognized a lot of the times.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think we have to take some of that upon ourselves, not just in who we're allowing into our lives if they're going to be tough enough for it, but in how we bring, in how we present what our lifestyle looks like, and like in our honesty, and like we've talked about, helping them find a place that works for them, that works whether they're going to have other hobbies that have nothing to do with us, or whether they're going to slowly become part of this piece of our lives. If we're going to be buying them that husband horse someday, so we can take them on trail rides.
Well,
or annoyingly, if my husband had
just-
ever started riding, he would have been better than me instantaneously. So I'm really glad he didn't. But that's a
Well, my
whole other-
husband has no fear. Like, my husband would probably kill himself in the horse. Like, he just wants to get on and gallop if he's going to ride. So I don't let him do that. And I told him he needed to learn to steer first. But part of the plan is he actually said, when we have our farm, I think it's a good idea for me to have my own horse. And I said, I think that's a great idea. I will pick the horse for you, and it'll be your horse. And maybe we can go ride together, and that can be a nice little thing that we do. And he said, that sounds great. But when can we gallop? And I was like, I'm out. But he did ask. So there's something. If I don't ruin it, I could have like a great horse husband in 10 years.
You're right. You've recognized that the seeds are there, and you are very slowly just fertilizing here and there and letting that grow into a beautiful plant.
That's
just
what
like
I'm
my
doing.
plants are growing in the rain.
I just can't come in like a wrecking ball and ruin that plant. Have to nurture it.
You're right. We need to have plans, and we need to move slowly. This is good.
Exactly.
Glenn, don't listen.
Exactly.
This is not for men's ears.
I think I'm beyond that, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
think
would you
Glenn's
give it our secrets
proof
away?
that it can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Glenn's proof that men can be groomed into becoming horse
Yeah,
husbands.
all the listeners keep saying, you're not a horse husband anymore. You're just a horse person, because I own a horse and I drive and all that stuff. But I don't put the bridle on. So that's where I draw the line. I don't do bridles.
Wait,
I don't
what?
put the bridle on. I never have. I
Why
just
is that?
hate it. He puts his head up and it's a pain.
That's your
My
thing.
That's
Like,
where I draw the line. That keeps me a horse husband, and
Oh.
I don't do the bridle.
It does.
Mm.
You're right. You're
okay,
hobbling
so
yourself,
Jennifer
sir.
does that for you.
Yes, she does that for me. Yeah.
That's
That's
fascinating.
nice. That's the least she could do for getting you involved, right?
And there have been times, ironically, over the years, I've owned more horses than her. So it's been ironic. I've had 2 or 3, and she said,
No, and I see videos or photos of you guys going out together and you driving scooter and her riding. And I just think that's what I want one day.
I took up driving because riding scared me. It just was too scary for me. I couldn't do it. So, I had to do something. So I thought, wow, this driving thing looks like fun. And, for me, it's fun. But there's a lot of riders that hate driving. And there were some horses I owned over the years. The first hackney I owned, she wouldn't even go in the cart with me. Jennifer wouldn't even get in the cart. That horse was wild. Yeah,
Was she?
He was wild.
I would be a little nervous getting into a cart for the first time.
I think it's scary, but I kind of am now picturing my husband driving like a very fancy Mini, and I like this idea. I might put this into my long-term
There
plan.
you go. I have a little pony. It's perfect.
Yeah, you've got Manny.
A little pony.
Well, Manny's 23, so
Yeah, maybe. Although
he's earned his retirement.
my first pony I drove to 35. And that pony didn't die into the 40s. So,
They probably wanted the job,
yeah,
right?
and I think that's what kept her going, was she felt useful. She loved to drive. So, but she was sound and healthy.
Oh, yeah.
Right, I'll
Age
consider
isn't anything but a number. I mean, if they're physically fit and they have the desire, I don't see any reason why any horse should be retired just because of age.
Well, now y'all are just
But
making
that's
me
a whole
seem
other
lazy for not wanting to do anything with this Mini.
I
won't
think
have
minis
it.
are a different
I have
story. Minis have a life of their own.
Well, minis will tell you.
Yes.
Yeah, they'll tell you.
Yeah, but they
yes or
start
no.
that when they're 2. No.
I just grab him by the mane and haul him around. I don't even halter him.
Oh my god.
He gets a halter on for the farrier.
Just as a quick aside, did you guys see the video of the little mini who was trying to kick the people riding on their trail horses,
No.
and the mini got in front of them and tried to get the trail horses to. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's basically me trying to tell my kids what to do.
No, mine was fighting with Ben last night. Like, it was like the black stallion meets the island stallion. The two of them were rearing and screaming and kicking out with both my legs because I got a new bale of alfalfa. So they had to fight for dominance over it.
Oh my goodness. So, Glenn, I told you we do like an adulting win of the week. So every time we record, we kind of focus on something horsey or non-horsey that we're proud of accomplishing that week. Does that make sense?
Yep. Can I do last week?
Natalie, why don't you start us off? What's that?
Yeah,
Sure.
we have to come up with new ones because we already did adulting wins of the week this week.
I have a list of 3. I was like, which one will I say? All right, Natalie, why don't you go ahead and take this one?
All right. So my adulting win of the week was somehow I successfully finished the first draft of my upcoming book and started the revision. And at the same time, I arranged for my son, who is 2.5 hours north of me, and his girlfriend, who is 2.5 hours south of me, to get together for the weekend. There was so much driving. And I had lunch with my mom because I very successfully combined picking up girlfriend and meeting my mom for lunch. So I accomplished all of these family goals over the course of one tiny Labor Day weekend. And I also managed to get 3 hours of sleep amongst all of this happening.
Wow.
It was impressive.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Monday I got home about 12:30 in the morning from the final run. And the cats had me up delightfully early, I think at 5. So
Yeah, you're not a morning person.
I'm not. I got up this morning way too early and I went back to bed. I just couldn't handle it. Because I
know.
was
I
talking
think
to
our
you really
messages
early.
were waking you up.
No, it was
All my little
waking up and
bubbles.
realizing it was raining on my new hay bale and going out pulling the tarp over it.
That'll do it. Set
I
your
was
pants
so
on
angry.
fire. Well, so my adulting of the week is, well, it's very pure. I think a lot of people would appreciate this. My kids started school again. So they're back in school, and now I can go to the barn, I can work, and I can day drink, even all in the same day.
All in
So
the
I'm
same
pretty
day.
excited. I mean, overachiever much, right? But I'm just saying I could. And I'm very excited about it. So, by the end of the summer, the kids start bickering and fighting and they're over it. And so now I have a little bit of freedom and I feel like $1 million.
Congratulations. That's outstanding.
I'm still wearing
You survived the
sweatpants,
summer.
but that's fine. So I got my hair done.
COVID cured the world of the
I have to
sweatpants
slowly
phobia.
go back into the world.
You're good.
It really did.
Yeah. You're good.
I showed up to the barn one day in loungewear, and they were like, "Why are you wearing your pajamas?" I'm like, "It's loungewear, okay? It's cute." They're like, "That's not a thing." So, people are used to me by now. Glenn, how about you? Do you have an adulting win?
I think it's going to be even my adulting win for the month, though, rather than the week. I'm proud of everybody at Over at Horses in the Morning. We've had a spectacular month celebrating our 3,000th episode that we did. And it's just, actually kind of makes podcast history. So we're really proud of everybody that works on that show.
NBD, like no big deal.
Yeah.
So, and it
It's
was fun
huge.
because I got to go to the podcasting conference, Podcast Movement, immediately after we did the 3,000th episode, and a bunch of them knew that. So that was kind of fun. We kind of celebrated over there, and it just was neat. It's neat to see the thing, and you guys being here, and to see the thing that I started now 16 years ago. Really, really grow to maturity. We were babies and in diapers and then elementary school and kindergarten and middle school and high school. And now I feel like we're graduating and going to college now. So I'm very proud of that. And you guys with your brand new show.
Well,
Yeah,
you're the king of all
congratulations.
podcasts,
And
we're just learning
Yes,
from the best.
the king is here, and we so appreciate you having us and trusting us on the Horse Radio Network.
Well, I trusted Natalie to keep you
you're brave.
straight. That's really what it came down to.
That's how you know I've never gone out with
I like
with
to
the two
keep
of
you on your toes.
Heather said, I want to do a show. I said, is somebody responsible going to be on it?
I said no.
I think I did say that to you, actually.
Natalie, I am responsible for my own chaos, but Natalie's
so.
responsible. I think Natalie's the straight guy to my
Yes.
weirdo.
Yes.
I am. I'm like, if we went out as a couple, I would wear the dark suit and you would wear the cocktail dress.
Yeah,
and,
with sequins. She'd be Dolly Parton.
Yeah.
Yep.
and I would just stand there with my martini and just nod.
I'm actually debating. Yep. Well, I'm debating dyeing my hair for Equine Affair, like something like horrific, like a bright red or purple or pink, and just making it a conversation piece. I know Natalie's face in this makes me want to do it today. I want to do it right now.
Just remember our color scheme is already quite bright, and consider clashing potential. Just
Well, you're
don't do like
but the color
hot pink,
scheme is
that'll look
red and
bad.
white. You could go blue. That'd work.
Should be the French flag.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've never
Exactly.
done blue. Maybe I'll just get a blue hat. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do a hat. Now, I feel like I'm traumatizing Natalie in advance. And Glenn, I don't know if you know this, but Natalie and I are going to be living in the same house during Equine Affair this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
was my idea.
You volunteered for that?
I don't think anyone's
Do
ready
you
for
know
this.
her?
So
Apparently not well
Apparently.
enough.
she indicated to me previously that she was often tired after events
kidding.
and took baths and went to bed. So that's this is the information.
Natalie, it's
I
called a
won't-
hangover.
I won't
It's
bother
called
you.
a hangover. That's what.
She's quiet and I can sleep. I don't care.
Okay. I never get roaring drunk at these events, okay? Because I've seen what happens when people do,
okay.
and it's not
All right.
pretty.
Well,
That
you know,
being
you get
said-
roaring drunk when you drink a whole lot all at once, whereas you and I just start in the morning and just go throughout the day, and so we just stay smooth. It just takes the edge.
So it's really Glenn, when Natalie and I concocted the idea for Adulting with Horses, we were at the World Horse Expo in Pennsylvania, and she goes, I picked her up at her hotel, and she goes, Heather, we need to stop at CVS. I need orange juice for my vodka. I'm like, okay. I was like, this is what we're doing. So we're drinking screwdrivers to wake up, and then we found the Unicorn Winery place down the road, down the row that we had. And so we had to try the fruit wine, and it just, yeah. But we did go back to our resident hotels. We did not go partying.
we talked about partying.
I was good.
And we ultimately chose not to.
And then we went to bed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
So let this be
Eventually.
known, I'm all talk, okay?
If anybody wants the truth, they can email me.
But Glenn, somehow you still invite me out. It's a mystery.
Somebody has to be the life of the party. Every party needs one of those.
And it's you. Let's not pretend. Yeah.
I think there was a Curb Your Enthusiasm about that, right? Like the person you invite to the dinner to take care of the entertainment.
That's right. You need one of those. You need that person.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be that
It won't
person, you have
be
to invite
ever be
somebody.
me.
I'm not offended by this at all. I think this is a very much an honor. I feel very honored, actually.
You should.
This is-
You should.
Fabulous. Now I'm going to be invited to everything.
We need
Yeah,
some
Glenn,
regular people to
Glenn
fill
and
in
I
the
rile
space.
each other up.
Yeah, we do. Well, thank you guys for allowing me to hang out.
Glenn, thank you so much for coming on and like having a chat with us and keeping us in line about how not to treat our horse husbands.
Yes,
I'm
be
kidding.
nice to us.
You give us hope.
That's right. And we cook
You do.
for
You're
you.
A wonderful example of somebody who was gently included and brought into the fold. And the driving thing really does make me think. So you've given me something to think about with my own husband. And I think there's hope for all
There
of
you
us.
go. There you go. And remember, we cook for you.
And I think
Yes, we like that.
that's true. Well, and the important thing to note too is like every relationship is different. You got to find the balance that works for you, but just make sure that the balance works for them too, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the key. Thank you for being a little weird with us, Horse Girl. If you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your player of choice. Follow us on Instagram at Adulting with Horses Podcast, or even better, join our Adulting with Horses Clubhouse on Facebook, where you can become part of the show. Also, it's a great place to meet other horse crazy women.